Hey everyone, it's Hayley Clover, your host, and this is another episode of CMO Weekly, brought to you by our sponsor, Open Fortune. Open Fortune has changed marketing forever by putting ads into fortune cookies that are distributed through 100,000 restaurants in 30 countries. In a world where consumers are seeing 3,000 to 5,000 ads a day, Open Fortune is helping your brand surprise and delight consumers while breaking through the noise. So thank you to Open Fortune for making this episode happen. I am super excited today. I'm joined by the Chief Marketing Officer of the Miami Marlins, Tiago Pinto. Thank you so much for being here. Tiago has a rich background in global marketing with roles at Nike and Gatorade. Tiago brings a wealth of experience to the world of Major League Baseball. Since joining the Marlins in 2022, he has spearheaded innovative initiatives to connect with Miami's diverse community, leveraging technology and creative storytelling to really enhance the fan experience. Under his leadership, the Marlins have seen significant growth in attendance and brand engagement. Tiago, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to chat.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to share a bit of the things that I've been doing.
Of course. I always love to kind of start with, obviously, I just mentioned a little bit that you have experience at Nike and at Gatorade. How did you find yourself with the Marlins? And can you explain a little bit about kind of your just professional career?
Yeah, I'll start with the Marlins. It's a great love story with the city of Miami, in South Florida in general. I moved here in 2015. Was supposed to be staying for a couple of years, maybe three. And I remember my boss at the time that had asked me to join him here in Miami said, first day in the job, he said, let me tell you about a problem. I said, wow, man, first day in the job, there's already a problem. He said, once here in Miami after 2 years, you'll never want to leave. And I said, come on, man. I arrived here in July. It was like 120 degrees outside. I can't wait to leave already. And then, what happened after 3 years here in Miami? I got relocated to Chicago, and it was as a family decision. I decided to commute, and the family stayed behind.
Oh, wow.
And there was an interesting couple of years commuting to Chicago because just the life in Miami was too good. And then one of those things, international companies move you around. And at some point, I had to decide between, even though I loved working for Gatorade, had an amazing time there, it was time to stay with the family in Miami. Stayed, and then, long story short, became the CMO of the Marlins, and loved my work connecting this organization to the city. 30 plus year history, as any sports team's ups and downs. But it's such a privilege to be managing this brand in such a hot baseball market. We're the home of baseball, as we like to say it. Which means a diverse approach to baseball. The Caribbean loves baseball just as anywhere in America, and this blend of international baseball. It's not by chance that next year we're hosting again the finals for the World Baseball Classic. Actually, all the rounds of World Baseball Classic. We hosted recently the Caribbean Series, and it is a great place to host baseball in general, and most importantly, international baseball. And people that come here, the visiting team, people always say it's such a special environment to be here in Miami around baseball. So it's a love story with the city. I don't want to go away, and and it's great to be part of the city fabric, managing the brand of the Miami Marlins in our community.
Yeah, there is such a vibrancy and a really good energy in Miami. I've only ever gotten to go for vacation, but I can completely see that where you'd go and never want to leave.
Yeah, I never want to leave. I'm originally from the south of Brazil. Started my career there, living in LA. Then went back to Brazil. Started my career in a local sports brand. Joined Nike. Went to Portland, and it's been a great story around sports. Never left sports. Always been in my industry. Loved it in different aspects of it. And now with the team I think the difference that I see is you're managing a brand that actually changes people's day. Right? When I know a lot of people that have tattooed their swoosh on their ankles and all that. Love for the brand of Nike, but when your team loses or wins, it makes a significant difference in people's lives. And we see, on not so good days, people leave the ballpark upset.
Yeah.
But on the great days, when we go around and the team is winning and people are standing on their feet, what a privilege to be here.
Yeah, there's nothing better than when you're a sports fan and you live in a city like that and your team is doing well. I'm from Buffalo originally, so that's how I feel about, the Buffalo Bills and that whole community. So I totally get it. But were you a fan of baseball before? Did you like all sports or kind of watch that before you ever got into a job with the Marlins?
Yeah, being born in Brazil, there's no other way. You're a soccer guy, right? That's just in our blood. That's our religion. That's everything for a Brazilian. But I think I had the experience of very early in my life. I came to live in America, and I was living in LA. In kind of, you can argue, one of the best years of the history of LA. Was when Magic Johnson started for the Lakers, Fernando Valenzuela started for the Dodgers, and Vince Ferragamo took the Rams to the Super Bowl. So those are the kind of 2, 3 years that I was there. A lot going on. It maybe just opened my mind about different sports. Soccer was not that big in America at the time. So when I went back to Brazil, I went back, loved the Dodgers, loved Fernando Valenzuela. Obviously at the time I didn't understand the whole impact that the Fernando Mania had on, his cultural impact as being a Mexican, really make it in LA. I think that's something that I came to appreciate later on. At the time, to me, he was just a great pitcher, and people going crazy about him. So I think I grew up with that, and then when the opportunity came to join the Marlins, was more about, hey, I know how big this sport can be in the cultural aspect, and I think that's something that we value here at the Marlins. There's all these Venezuelans and Dominicans and Cubans and Puerto Ricans that love baseball just as much. It's just they show that in a bit of a different way. So when we host WBCs and Caribbean Series here, you can see that love coming together. To me, the best compliment that I got to the Miami baseball fan was Mike Trout after he played here in the final against Japan in 2023 for the World Baseball Classic. He said, and it's a quote that is on ESPN.com. You can check him saying that was the best environment that he ever played baseball on. So wow. I think that is a compliment to our city, to our fans, and the type of environment that we can put on here in our community in South Florida.
Yeah, that's so cool. Other than those international events that would draw an international crowd, how do you tailor your marketing strategies to resonate with that diverse fan base that even might be living in Miami or kind of in the surrounding areas of Florida?
Well, we take a look at our, we work closely with the league, Major League Baseball, in organizing the calendar. So very early on during the previous season, we kind of know what to expect for the next one. So it allows us a little bit of time. We put together what we call the promotional calendar. So we look individually at every single game, crossing the opponent and day of the week, and then we look also of what every week looks like. So we created this, I would say, it's a little bit like doing programming for TV. What does a Saturday mean? What does a Sunday mean? What does a Friday mean? So on and so forth. So one of the things that we do is every Saturday is a tribute. We call the Heritage Saturdays. It's a tribute to a different community in South Florida. So Cuban heritage celebration, Venezuelan, all the way Haitian, everything, right? That you bring the biggest communities you bring together here, and on Saturday, that heritage is celebrated, the way that community relates to baseball. So people can buy into a different ticket package. That you can get a Marlins jerseys designed by a local artist from those communities. That is a representation of our brand connected with cultural elements of that community. The post-game concert is of a band from that community. We celebrate the way, we speak the language. So all the Saturdays really representing that. So that's the Saturday we pay tribute. And then, on Sundays, it's all about families and kids, which regardless of what community you're coming from, you have a family, whatever you make of a family, right? Family of 1, of 10, of, whatever you make, everybody's a welcome. One example for that, we have a very popular program, which is called 4 for 44, active on Sundays. That for $44, you get 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas, and 4 popcorns. Right? But we realized very early on the family is whatever you make of it. So if you go online to buy the package, even though the brand is 4 for 44, the multiple goes up all the way up to 9. and it ends in 9 because that's that's kind of the what is the available number in our ticketing platform. What we want to say, hey, this is a community that has a lot of multi-generational homes. It's and most important is the understanding that family is what you make of it. So you want to come in 2 and 4 and 8 and 9. You're welcome here, right? And you're celebrated here, and there's opportunities for you to come here. One of the example during the summer, Monday nights, any kids gets a ticket for $1. Right, so we want to make sure kids are coming in. So we make our promotional calendar in a way that you either celebrate by individual communities or you're celebrating our community overall. But there's always a way, and I can go on and on with the different promotional packages that we have. But we want to make sure people feel welcome and feel celebrated here at the ballpark, and that's how we build our 81 home game calendar.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's also, there's something about having an affordable experience too that celebrates families, for everybody to be able to go out and have an actual afternoon. And, bringing people in when they're kids is smart in terms of strategy. We catch them when they're young and they create this love of the Marlins and love of baseball, and they become a lifelong, attendee of these games. So that's smart.
Yeah, hey, I joined 3.5 years ago. Luckily, I have a great team that I work with. Some people more tenured than most of them, a lot more tenured than me. So you have that institutional knowledge, right? I think what I was able to bring to the team is more that brand building experience and skills around, especially having worked for great brands like Gatorade and Nike. The consistency, make sure that you're coherent, you're consistent. You have a long-term view. Make sure that you look for excellence in the execution. I think there's a lot more, the tooling. But we have great baseball institutional knowledge. People that work here love the Marlins. Most of them are from here. And then you get the people like me that are transplants that adopted our community. So I think a very diverse workplace allows us also, to have an easier, more direct conversation with our diverse fan base.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, a couple of important things there too. One to expand on is when you are a CMO coming in to a new job like this with a team that does have a vast amount of knowledge, what is the first thing that you do? How do you approach that as a leader? What is that kind of first project or first way that you talk to your team to establish yourself and also get to know, your team so that you can use them in the best ways possible?
I think the first thing that you got to do in a new job or a new circumstance, what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? So you understand your mission. I think that's the first thing you got to do. So not only with my team, but also my peers or my boss. Like, okay, with that understanding, I think it's easier to bring everybody together. Right now, you have a common objective. Hey, we're all here for that reason. We got to solve this problem or this set of problems. I think that is the first thing that puts everybody on the same page. Right? Hey, I'm new. You guys have been here before, but this is the problem to solve. What have we done in the past? What do you think? I think is the expression I most use. Right? What do you think? Okay, this isn't. What do you think? And then having that ability through asking the questions that you start understanding not only what the person knows, but what the person believes in. And just as important, how the person behaves. So I have one person that we work with here. I love working with her. She's brilliant, right? When I first came in, she was a bit more reluctant to honestly share what do you think, right? Sure. It was a lot more, hey, these are the things that we should do. I said, I'm not interested in what we should do. I'm interested in what you think, right? And you understand that different people react to that question in different ways. Right. And you have to read the room and understand some people are very confident and like the audience. Some people really prefer, right, a private conversation. Yeah, I think it's first understanding what the problem is, getting a good understanding what is the current knowledge about the problem or the causes of the problem and then the potential solutions. and then getting to know individuals, right? How do we, as individuals, after you know them as individuals, how do we operate as a team? What is the team dynamic? So I think these are the things that require a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I've been looking to work with, with bosses that allowed me to have that time to assess the situation, understand the potential solutions, but most importantly, understand the people that are behind that are behind that. I've seen great cases of people that might have been struggling start performing great. I've seen people that struggled and just kept struggling, and I've
Yeah.
seen people that excelled and kept excelling. And I think luckily I haven't seen anyone starting to excel and then and start to struggle. Luckily,
Knock on
I
wood.
don't think, at least not to my knowledge, right? I don't think I've done too much harm. So, but I think it's allowing that time, right, to get to know each other. I tend to be a very open person, very direct.
Yeah, creating a safe space for people to
Yeah,
feel like they can, speak up and give their feedback, and that's valued too. I think there's plenty
yeah,
of places where you can speak up, but you might not feel like you're being heard, and so that's all part of that as well.
but most importantly, allow the environment to think big.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
let's do great. That's what we're here for. Nobody would come to work to do mediocre job.
right.
Everybody wants to excel. You need that environment. What is excelling at the moment with the constraints that you have? But I think that is my biggest role. I believe is to come every day and try. Hey, if we're gonna do something, let's do something great.
Let's do
Right?
it. Yeah.
I think that's my role.
I also think that there really isn't a bad idea. There might be ideas that don't fit in the current landscape, but why not throw them out there and see if we can,
Absolutely.
make something work? Because you just
Yeah.
never know what comes out of some of those brainstorming meetings. They just,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, so you mentioned figuring out what that big challenge is. Can you talk at all to some of the challenges that you've seen, if you feel comfortable kind of giving us an idea of maybe some of those hurdles you initially saw when you came on?
I think it's nothing individual of the Marlins, but I think any entertainment organization in Miami
Mhm.
is just there's so much going on in this market, right?
Right.
So if you look at sports, hey, what are the choices, right? We play in the same season as Inter Miami. We intersect at some points with the Heat, with the Panthers, with the Dolphins, right? And I'm just saying the top five,
Right.
most well-known professional leagues. But we have Formula One in town. We have the other day I got an email. The World Cricket League is in town. We have Unrivaled. Where was Unrivaled play? Right, played the 3-on-3 women's basketball tournament was here. And then you have the one-offs. You have the Miami Open of tennis. And there's so much going on.
Yes.
Then we have the beach, which is for free, right? And then you have the billions of concerts. And then you have the restaurants and so on. We keep going all day.
Fashion weeks, art shows. I mean, yeah, it's so true. Miami's
There's a,
everything.
there's a lot. So luckily, there's a lot of people coming to Miami looking for that entertainment. People coming from all over the world. But there are the locals here that some have ability to go to more events than others, and nothing is not everything is affordable. So I think you have to look at the landscape and then identify, okay, where can I play, right? And in what the games we have, and what's my approach, and why would people pick the Marlins instead of going somewhere else, right? I think these are the things that are very important that you understand. So I think that is the challenge of us in this market, right? The other is around baseball as well, right? Baseball. I think I was extremely lucky that very soon after I got here, baseball implemented the pitch clock.
Mm,
Tremendous change to the game,
yeah.
right? That not only yes, I talk to my peers all the time. By the way, very collaborative MLB and the players. I can pick up the phone and talk to any CMO around the league, and the people will reply to my call immediately.
Oh, how cool.
Great collaborative environment. So this is something that we talk a lot, right? Pitch clock, tremendous change to the rule. How do we keep baseball younger and younger? We talk to the league. We work with the league. We worked hand in hand with the league a couple years ago on a league-led initiative towards Hispanic fans. leveraging some entertainers based in Miami. So we helped with the relationship, and provided input where was needed. So I think there is that collaborative effort around the league. How do we keep making baseball exciting and engaging? And I think in the last few years, the work led by the league and other teams have proved extremely valuable. I think on our end, also bringing international events like the World Baseball Classic and the Caribbean Series and some others that we brought also helped spark in the community. If you're not coming for the baseball, you're coming for national pride, right? And then people get to know Lone Depot Park. Our stadium has a roof and air conditioning, which in Miami from May to September means a lot. Yep. So maybe people didn't know about the Marlins or were not in tune with the Marlins because they came from somewhere else. But suddenly you came here to watch your Venezuelan team because they played an exhibition game here at Lone Depot Park. And then, hey, this is a great place. Why don't you come back? So I think our challenge in the way is how to use those market-related or baseball-related variables and channel that energy, that demand, that vibrancy into, why don't you check us out? Right? This is our team. We have a very young team. In 2023, very lucky to be part of the playoff push, and we made it to the postseason. The energy in the ballpark was something else. This place went, Miami really embraced the Marlins during that season, which is a bit of a characteristic of our market, right? Any market loves winning teams, but it seems that with the amount of options here, people, really appreciate a winning team. Yeah. So I think it's more than a challenge is how do you read your variables and kind of maneuver in a way that helps with what are your business objectives.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And then also, can you talk a little bit about some of the traditional marketing that still works well for you all? Are you on TV, we're on radio, we're doing all of those kind of traditional out-of-home avenues as well?
Yeah, we have a good mix of, we call media. Right? Mm-hmm. I think you can say by now that digital media is traditional media. Yeah. Right? So I think we do media, and we understand what are the things that we can go one-to-one, and we tailor our conversation and the creative materials to that. What is the one-to-one materials? We know name and email and phone number of all the people that come here all the time. Right. So we can email directly, hey, this is happening. We know that last year you came to Venezuelan Heritage. Did you know that in 5 weeks, Venezuelan Heritage is back? Why don't you want to come again? So we're able to have that from a one-to-one conversation to, let's say, a cluster conversation around paid social. Hey, let's do this content for people on TikTok that love baseball and dogs. By the way, Monday nights during the summer, Bark at the Park. You can bring your dog to the games. So here's a cluster of people that the dog lovers in Miami that might want to come to our Monday nights, because where else are you going to walk the dog when it's 120 degrees outside? Sure. Right? Come to the ballpark. We have an air conditioning. So, and then to the mass media. Sometimes we want to say, hey, World Baseball Classic is in town. Everybody loves, if you're not coming here for baseball, you're coming here for your country. If you're not coming for baseball or your country, you're coming for the party, right? So that TV is a great medium to cover all of South Florida. So I'd say we have media. Each medium has its different characteristics, and then we plug in when necessary. We don't make a division between a tradition or digital or this, right? We are a media, right? We host close to more than 1 million people here every season. If you combine everybody that comes through the gates, we are a medium, right? And we use our stadium as a medium, and we reflect that in our strategies. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As somebody that's been in the industry for a long time and has worked with some of these really big brands and, iconic brands within the MLB. What is it that keeps you creative and innovating, within marketing? Is it the people you're working with, or is it just that constant challenge and trying to figure it out? What is it that keeps you inspired? I think I'm lucky I have a great team, right? I think people keep me on my toes. Well, I have 2 teenage kids. You got to be sharp. Or else they run you over, right? So I think that first of all, I wake up and I drive them to school. They keep me sharp from the beginning of the day. And then you get here, work with great creative people. Let me just do the trick of the light here. So work with great creative people. The challenges, right, of 81 games that you got to keep reinventing, and what worked last week will not get people back this week. So I think it's a combination of factors. I really love, my job. Always been in sports, always been in marketing. I think it's super fun. Never thought of doing anything else. So I think it's, a blend of, your environment, your personal drive, and not wanting to embarrass my kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, teenagers, very honest. It's, you'll
Oh,
learn quickly. Yeah.
yes.
So, well, and you also said 81 games is such a long season. For fans that maybe are football fans and not baseball fans, you've got 17 games versus, like you just said, 81. So
No,
it's
81
a
home games.
home
It's
games.
162 season long,
And
regular
that's just
season.
the regular season. And then you hope to be in the postseason. Yeah. Oh my God. It's incredibly long. So is there any bit of burnout that happens throughout the season with your team, or just in general? Because it's, like, oh my God, it's just so much and we're doing it again. And it is a very long time to be on the mark, or kind of have that pressure of performing for that entire amount of time, unlike other industries where it's seasonal. And so you do have some lulls, or you have a little bit of a break. I mean, gosh, you guys must be on the ball all the time for a very long time.
I won't say it is one of the challenges that we have with the team, is how do we manage the workload. Some of
Yeah.
the times, you know what, you just get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
As any industry, there's some times that you got to get on with it. Sometimes you can manage a bit. We try to manage as most as we can. I would say the beginning of the season, our peak season is roughly 6 to 8 weeks before opening day. So it means it starts to really ramp up February. Then you go all in into the All-Star break. And then the back half of the season will, start depending on how your team is doing. You got to still keep an eye on the current season, but you start looking to the following season. So
Wow.
we like to say that we work a lot during the season, but then comes the off season and we work a little bit more. That's a little bit of an internal joke, because then you're already preparing for the next one. I think you got to love what you do. It's not something that allows you really a lot of planning. It is something that we don't have a big turnover on the marketing team. So, luckily on that, I think people find the work very rewarding, because also with 81 games where you put in market, right away if it works or not. So I think that kind of quick turnaround,
Now, is that
yeah, I'm doing things.
when you know that it works right away? Is that strictly based on attendance, or what are the ways which you're tracking that performance?
I would say three basic measurements. The light is playing a trick on me here.
What's
It's
the
ticket sales.
ticket
Okay,
sales?
ticket sales, engagement. You can see online how the conversation is going, how people are reacting, and overall buzz, right? And one of the things that we measure buzz is around how much my phone is ringing, people asking for tickets, right? And who's asking for those tickets, right? So
Ah,
you you
yeah.
you kind of get that. Oh, you know what? My client's in town. He would love to throw a first pitch, right?
Yeah.
That kind of, when you start getting those calls, uh,
Something's working.
you're generating good vibes in the community. So I think those are the three big metrics that tell us.
I love that buzz is a metric for you, because there are a lot of marketers that I speak to that have a much more, traditional look at performance or how things are performing. And that's totally correct in its own way. But there is something about being able to feel it and just knowing that it works because of the feeling that you have and the things that you're just hearing and seeing. And it's not necessarily a number that's showing up on your computer. And I just love that, because I think it's an important aspect that, some of the young marketers that are listening to this podcast can take into consideration as they're continuing their careers and starting to learn from, the leadership at their companies.
Come on, we sell baseball. Who needs 81 games of baseball? If it's not fun, if there's no buzz, like this is Miami, right? People want to know where do you have to be, right, to see and be seen. So you need a bit of the buzz, right? Every time we have, the Daddy Yankees or the Neymars or the Dan Marinos throwing the first pitch, people want to know who's on the suite.
Yes.
Right? You got to have a little bit of that. 'Cause, it's baseball. It's fun. It's sports. So of course we also have the hard metrics. We got to sell tickets. We're a business, right? And you got to deliver that. And what's your engagement? And what's the conversion rate? We do all of that. But I
Yep.
think we need a little bit of magic dust too.
Completely agree. I think a lot of that too comes from the personality of the marketing team. And so I imagine just even from talking to you for just a half an hour, you seem fun. I'm sure the team has that kind of same energy. And like you said, within baseball, we don't need to be a boring marketing team. We should enjoy and should have fun because we'll bring people in to do the same.
Yeah, we got to convince people to come. We gotta make it fun.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Tiago, I only have a couple minutes left with you. And usually what we do at the end of these podcasts, which I didn't tell you, so here's a surprise. We do a little rapid fire question round, which is just to learn a little bit more about you, a little less about marketing and your career. So I'm just going to throw out some questions and you just give me the first thing that pops into your head. Sound good?
Okay. Is it rated R or PG? You tell me.
It's not, but if you can make it rated R though, you go for it. First question, what's your favorite city in the world?
Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Love that. Person dead or alive that you'd most like to sit down to dinner with?
Mick Jagger.
Awesome. You work within the sports industry. Are you a gambler? Do you like to sports bet if you were allowed or on other sports outside of MLB?
I'm not a gambler. I'm not allowed, but I'm not a gambler. So it's no problem for me not being allowed. I'm not a gambler.
Okay, perfect. We'll skip that one. In 30 years, what do you think people are going to be nostalgic about?
I'm someone that is not nostalgic, so it's hard to understand the feeling, right?
Oh,
I'm always up to
you're not.
what's next? What's next?
I love that. So you can be very present and then you can look forward.
I'm always looking forward.
I think that's healthy. What's the worst advice that anyone has ever given you? If anyone's ever given you terrible advice. If not, what's the best advice?
Terrible advice, man. I can't remember terrible advice. I'm sure I had a few. Well, quick word. I know it's a rapid fire, but someone once told me to tell a little lie, and then I learned very early in my life, like I have zero talent to lying. So that was it was the worst advice because it got me in a lot of trouble. But it was the best advice I ever had because it taught me that I do not know how to lie, and I never told a lie again in my life. So, and you can ask my wife and anyone that really knows me. It is true.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, those little lies can somehow turn into big lies very quickly as well.
It's terrible. Got me into terrible trouble.
Yeah, not good. Okay, if your team had to describe your energy by a cocktail, what drink would you be?
Well, I'm not a big cocktail drinker, so I'll tell you of a beverage that I know, vodka. I don't know. I'm a beer guy, so I think it's got to be beer.
Okay,
I'm a beer guy.
Are you a craft beer guy? Would you be an IPA? Would you be a Bud Light? You're just down to earth and hardworking.
Since you said a brand, I'm saying a brand. People that know me know that nothing makes me happier than a cold Heineken.
Ah, perfect. Love that. Do you have any totally random skills or hobbies that have absolutely nothing to do with your work?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I love grilling. Love it.
What do you like to grill? What's the best meat that you grill?
It's got to be red meat.
Yeah.
I'm from the south of Brazil. For the people that know, we're cattle raisers. So it's got to be yes, churrasco, a picanha. That is my favorite cut. That's what I do. That's what really makes me happy. The picanha with the cold Heineken, I'm in heaven.
Okay, throwing out more brands. What grill are you using? Do you have a smoker?
I know I have a regular Weber Genesis 3-burner grill.
Okay, cool. What's one thing about your past self, let's say 10 years ago, that would be shocked to learn about your life today?
I would say this maybe 20 years ago. I was a very grumpy person in my mid 20s, and I had the nickname that was not nice because I was too grumpy, and I'm very glad that I left that behind. People that my friends and family tell ever since I met my wife, I'm a different person. So I think that's what the biggest change.
Can do that to you.
Oh man, love it, love her. By the way.
Okay, great. And then last question. what are a couple of other brands or other marketers that you're just loving their strategy right now and what they're doing with their companies?
There's a guy, because it's got to be in the industry, right? That I'm on right now, so I'm very up to date. Guy called Rich Orozco from LA. He was the original CMO of the LAFC. I don't know if he's still the CMO there. I know he's still connected to the organization. Brilliant guy. Made the LFC, a first year team that had a following as if it was a European team with a 150-year history, had the same passion as the Latin American fans. And he designed that. I was able to talk to him and understand the way he went about it, everything planned, but super genuine. It really created something new at MLS, extremely needed. So I think brilliant guy in sports. Because it's easy to say, oh, the European guys, and you have 100-year history. He did it from scratch, and he has the same love in Central LA around his team. I think this guy's brilliant, Rich Orozco.
That's a great answer. And I can attest because I lived in LA for 8 years and my husband's company had tickets to LAFC and it was so much fun. The fans are screaming, holding their flags. They've got their smokers. I mean, they were going nuts. It was really cool. Yeah. Well, Tiago, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And for anyone that's watching and can see the video, we literally have dressed exactly the same. We both have denim shirts on that have 2 pockets, and we decided to wear our glasses today. So
yes. It was great. Love the conversation. Really fun. Really fun.
Thank you so much. And if people want to follow the Marlins and follow along with the team, where can they find you guys?
Go to marlins.com, especially if you put a /tickets and buy a ticket and come see us. Come live this at the ballpark. We love that.
Yeah, and don't forget there is air conditioning in the stadium, so you can do it all summer long.
All summer long. No rain delays.
Love that. Well, Tiago, thank you so much, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.